Dad camping joke for you. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson go on a camping trip. They spend the day walking the hiking trails, fishing, and bird watching. After the eventful day, they find a suitable camping spot to pitch their tent. They eat dinner around the campfire, sing songs, share life stories, and then eventually decide it's time to retire to the tent to get some sleep. A few hours later, Sherlock wakes up. Watson, are you awake? Yes, sir. What is it? Look up and tell me what you see. I see billions of stars. And what does that tell you, Watson? Well, astronomically, it tells me that there are millions of galaxies and potentially billions of planets. Horologically, I deduce that the time is probably a little after 3 a.m. Theologically, I can see that God is all-powerful and that we are small and insignificant. Meteorologically, I suspect that the coming day is going to be a beautiful one for us. Why? What does it tell you? Holmes is quiet for a moment, then says, It tells me that someone has stolen our tent. What it is, good people. Thank you for clicking play on another episode of Big Man, Tiny Kingdom. Last year on season 1, episode 6, I talked about creative memories. Whether it's doing things for yourself, getting together with the family or friends, having those fun times at home, or if you're like me, then you prefer the outdoor adventures, capturing those timeless moments that will forever contribute to your happiness. I feel it's important to build up those times that you cherish and can reflect back on. The good times, the make you smile inside moments. There's tons of those memories that I can speak about, but one that's an Arizona favorite for me is summer vacation, June 2012. Me and the family spent some time in Sedona, sightseeing, hiking, having fun in the water. Most importantly, enjoying each other's company and all the wonderfulness that Sedona, Arizona has to offer. I visited Sedona a handful of times, and each time I've been, I fell in love with the area a little bit more. So much to do there, so many beautiful things to see. One of the places that I visited where the wow factor and shock value has definitely filled me up. I'll go ahead and first get my drawbacks out about Sedona because there's really not that many. But the first one I want to mention is that I feel like getting there from Mesa, it's a horrible drive. I'm not a big fan of the winding, curvy roads. The uphill climbing that you have to do to get there is something I'm not looking forward to doing in an RV. Not that long of a drive, about 2.5 hours, but for me, it's just not that enjoyable of a drive, which really is too bad. There seems to be some beautiful country to check out while you're on the road headed to Sedona, but I wouldn't know much about it because I'm too busy white-knuckling the steering wheel. I might sneak in a peek at the scenery, but for the most part, I'm heavily focused on maneuvering through the 2-lane traffic on I-17, hoping and praying I survive the unfantastic voyage amongst these insanely ridiculous Arizona speed racers. But once I make it to the finish line, I'm so glad I took the journey. My other drawback would be that Sedona is a little pricey, especially for a family getaway. But looking back at the pictures we took and remembering the smiles on everyone's faces as a result of all the fun we were having, priceless. And for me, that makes it well worth it. I hate to count the cost as a negative because if you go there and stay there the way that I did, which I'll talk about in a minute, then yes, Sedona is kind of expensive. However, people planning to stay there, I'm sure they know about the cost going into it. So drawback, maybe a tad bit, but in my opinion, I wouldn't let that stop you from making a trip there. Now that I've become very fond of camping, there are tons of areas available that make staying in Sedona very cheap and even free. If you're into boondocking, I feel Sedona has some of the best spots to really get out there in nature and test your dry camping skills. I haven't done that yet, but from what I've learned about the area, I certainly would love to try that in Sedona. Me and the boys stayed at the Arabella Hotel off of Highway 179. Fabulous resort hotel. All the accommodations and amenities that we needed for our stay. Pretty much close to everything that Sedona has to offer. Plenty of things to do within walking distance, which one of the highlights of our Sedona trip was directly behind the Arabella. We went hiking on the Marge's Draw Trail, 4 miles round trip, so not that far of a hike. The plant life on your way up to the top was really cool to see. We did come across a rabbit and small lizards, but not much more to report about the wildlife there. And once you make it to the top, the overview of the city, the neighboring rock formations, you get a pretty good view of the Snoopy Rock that is a tourist favorite in Sedona. If you remember Charlie Brown's dog from the cartoon show, there's a rock formation that looks like Snoopy laying down. It's cool to see, and you can see it from other areas of Sedona as well. But it was nice that all we had to do to see the Snoopy Rock was just walk a short distance from the hotel and hike up Marge's Draw, which we enjoyed making it to the top. Me and my boys are all about competition, so we had a fun time challenging each other on who can make it up there the fastest. We did stop a lot and got some good pictures while we were on our way up. It echoes up there a little, so we spent time yelling out stuff to hear it repeat. With it being summertime, I don't think we saw any other brave souls out there during the Arizona high temperatures. It was early, so it wasn't super hot at the time we were out, but we had lots of water to drink, plenty of salty snacks. I hike enough to feel like I know what to do and not do. Plus, we love the hot weather, which is one of the main reasons why we moved to Arizona in the first place. Marge's Draw is not that hard of a trail. A rookie can handle it just fine, or even someone that is out of shape like I always am. That hike took up the morning. When we got back to the hotel, we spent the rest of the daytime hours at the pool. I want to say everyone was worn out after all that fun. Early evening, we were all knocked out, woke up later that night. If you are unfamiliar with Sedona, well, let me tell you that it is not like Vegas or New York or any other city that never sleeps. No, not at all. Sedona shuts it down. The only places in the area that I could find open to get some food was pizza delivery, which was fine by us. Next day, we headed to Slide Rock State Park, and that was the highlight of this Sedona getaway. Definitely recommend visiting Slide Rock. There's also other state parks in the Sedona area, all within 30 minutes of each other. If you're able to, try to make the time to see them all. We spent the full day at Slide Rock. The best tip that I can give you first-time visitors, get there early if you want a decent place to park. Slide Rock is one of the Arizona parks that is very popular and gets a ton of visitors. Well, I would say that all of Sedona sees a lot of traffic, so get there early. Otherwise, you'll be parking along the side of the road and probably will have a nice walk from where you park to get to some of the coolest things to see. I'm going to say that the top spot that I'm sure everyone goes to has to be the Oak Creek swimming area. This is where I'm going to say the name of the park will make sense to you because it's where you can swim and glide on the rocks like it's a water slide, hence the name Slide Rock. I didn't get in the water. I love going to places where I can be around water, but not necessarily in it. But my boys were in full enjoyment mode. I'm going to have to say that this was one of the moments hearing and seeing my little ones have fun, laughing, running, jumping, being loud, doing nothing but enjoying themselves. And man, it fills the heart. I cherish those moments. My sons are all young adults now, and they may not even know that I enjoyed their company like that. They're just being kids. But for me, when I look back at those Sedona pictures and videos, it was some of the best days I've had in my life. Everything about it was perfect. There was one tiny hiccup. One of my boys got brave enough to jump off a cliff. It was like 15, 20 feet or so up, and we were egging him on. Like I said, we're competitive like that. Two of the boys was at the top of the cliff on the edge looking down, but only one actually decided to go for it. Well, he jumps in the water and scrapes his back on one of the rocks at the bottom when he landed. I don't remember how deep they said the water in that area was, but he was okay. Not a deep major cut, just enough of a scrape to take off some skin and leave a mark on his back. It must not have bothered him too much because he went right back to playing. One thing I wish I had thought of doing back then that I do now when I visit the parks is that I have a passport book so I can collect visitor stamps. I just started doing that in 2021, and I've not been back to Sedona this year. I've been nearby visiting some other parks not too far away, so it's time to revisit Slide Rock, get new pictures and videos, get some hiking in, and definitely make sure I get my visitor stamp. I want to give a shout out to all the fathers, stepfathers, uncles, who've helped out in the fatherly way to their nephews and nieces, all the male mentors, the teachers, spiritual leaders, big brothers, and we've all had a neighborhood man in our life that wanted us to not get mixed up in the nonsense, to live positive, to dream big. Father's Day is coming up. I want to thank you all for being the good men that you are and for providing guidance and real love to the young people in our communities. At the same time, it also happens to be Freedom Day for our African elders. Juneteenth commemorates the emancipation of those enslaved in America way back in the day, although it was January 1, 1863, when the proclamation to free Black people in the Confederate States was put in effect during President Abraham Lincoln's administration. It actually wasn't until June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, that Black people finally learned that slavery had been abolished. That's where the former slaves immediately began to celebrate with prayer, feasting, song, and dance. In 2021, it was declared by the powers that be to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. So we celebrate that as the anniversary. And I want to give my employer, Benedictine University, a shout out as well for recognizing Juneteenth and making it a paid day off. I've been with the university for several years. They've always been a place of inclusion for all people. It's been a happy place for me, and I love doing what I do for who I do it for. I wish that type of peaceful and enjoyable workplace for all of you out there. Happy Father's Day and happy Juneteenth. I hope you've all been out there making memories this summer. It really is good for the soul. Don't put it off. Just make it happen. Well, y'all keep it kosher, good people. This is Big Man, Tiny Kingdom.